So the Reaver's going to come in here. I want to see the damage he does. Boom! Good shot. Another one. Boom! There's a lot of High Templars and not really much else. So these carriers are just putting in some serious work here, man. Pandor is pouncing on this, but I think because these tanks all clumped up and got stormed into oblivion, that this attack is going to go, and has gone, absolutely horrendously. Hey guys, Rapid Roo here, and welcome back to another Starcraft Broodwar cast. I'm incredibly excited today because I have an A-rank Protoss versus Terran between Soha and Pandor, and I'm also excited because we're on Vermeer, which is an ASL map that I virtually never get to cast on. This is a practice game between two top-class foreign Broodwar players, and I'm absolutely over the moon to bring the action to you today. I'm here with Broodwar content twice a week. Please, if you don't mind, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you do, I will fix your Dragoon pathing for you. Alright, so let's get into this game. We have a top versus bottom. In the bottom we have Pandor, a very, very good Terran player. He's also a coach in the CPL, which is the Coach Pupil League. If you are looking to get into Broodwar, learning Broodwar, I recommend getting involved. Links in the description box below. And his opponent is Soha, I think is the way we say his Smurf name. He's actually a Terran player as well, I think. But he's so good he can just off-race as Protoss and do so incredibly well. So this is going to be an exciting game. I'm really looking forward to getting to know the nuances of the Vermeer map. And I'm also really excited to see what builds players of this level pursue in this match. Are we going for arbiter builds, or are we going for the more modern meta, which is the speed shuttle drop style? So only time will tell. For now we seem to have a very standard gateway opening, so no Nexus first or anything like that. On the bottom here from Pandor we seem to have a little bit more of an aggressive econ opening with a low ground barracks, which implies potentially a gasless expansion. So let's see how this all plays out. So we're just putting on a little bit of a hurry up to see, because the suspense is killing me. Alright, so we do have the gasless expansion on the way with the depot. Marine is out. Terran has, Protoss has gone because of the offensive gas of Terran, which you don't see very often. Has moved very quickly into a gateway expand with one zealot on the map, so one zealot expansion. And Terran, as expected, has built the command center and is now getting his gas, and from there we'll probably just progress into a standard factory build. Alright, so the core is up. The gas in the main is not there yet. Pandor has quite aggressively sent some marines forward, which Zerglings or Zealots have now dealt with, and these are an A move, so they're going to chase this SCV around, and I think probably chase them all the way back. Alright, so I think we can normalize the speed now. We had a little bit of a weird opening with an offensive gas from Terran, so there's no Dragoons out on the map as yet. Here comes the very first one, and on this side we have a bunker with 2 marines in it and the first factory on the way. So an econ orientated start to sacrifice early unit production, something you tend to see at higher levels. Lower levels, you know, the standard is usually just do your factory expand versus your standard Dragoon 23 Nexus or 28 Nexus or whatever you tend to see from Protoss. The players at this level are like, you know what, I'll just run past your silly little bunker and give you lots of grief, which is what Protoss is doing here at the moment. Pandor is enough, but Marines though to pick that off and tidy it up quite nicely. This will force the Zealots to go around, which gives the Marines plenty of scope to take as many shots as required along the way up the ramp. Okay, so been a little bit frenetic. Where are we? Pandor's ahead. He's ahead in workers and ahead in supply, and if you are Terran and you are ahead of Protoss pretty much at any phase in the first few minutes of the game, or pretty much for the entire game, then you are in a very good position as Terran. Interesting to see. Okay, so the first machine shop upgrade, again, normally in the levels At lower levels, the first machine shop upgrade for the most part is siege mode. I think Terran players just want to feel secure. At higher levels, it tends to be the upgrades for the vultures, either speed or mines. And the reason we see this is because players of this skill level want to continuously harass, take map control, and just maintain a presence on the map, both for the purposes of scouting and for the purposes of economic harassment, which is such a big part of the strategy in this matchup. So we see a support bay pretty early on, and we see a shuttle. So my question will be, what are we going to be putting into the shuttle? We can see from the production tab that the idea would be to put in a Reaver. The placement of the robotic support bay and hiding the shuttle here would indicate to me that So is trying to hide this from Pandor. So if Pandor were to scan now the main of the Protoss, he would just see a pretty standard looking base, and that's about it. So if you were to scan the natural hover, he would see the support bay and probably put the two together, but it's unlikely that he's going to scan both, and it's unlikely he's going to have scans at this stage of the game because his comsat stations are now only coming up for the very first time. So I'll be interested to see the pathing that he chooses on the Reaver. Here comes the Reaver now. It's popped out of the robo. But if you were to scan now, you would see the the caterpillar walking along, and that would obviously be a bit of a giveaway. But let's track the shuttle. Let's see if he puts something in with it. Yeah, he's got a Dragoon in there. And let's see if he can get some damage done. We're now even on workers. I think that's the other thing that impresses me. Players at this level can hit their workers continuously, can progress with their build, can expand, and can operate a shuttle. Okay, so these vultures are going out. They are going to run straight in the front door if So is not careful. Yeah, so there they go, straight in. Okay, so these goons are going to block. There's too many things to keep track of. Here comes the Reaver. Alright, so the Reaver's going to come in here. I want to see the damage he does. Boom! Good shot. Another one. Boom! I don't think Pandor spotted this until maybe the second or third shot. Oh, that was explosive. He had got himself easily 7 SCVs, and that's a dud. Ah, man, that's so tilting. But he's managed to tidy this up. No, he has not. So he's picked up the Reaver and decided, yeah, I'll just put him in here. Boof! Oh, man. So easily 10 SCVs. Easily. And still doing damage. I wasn't able to track both, but obviously, so while doing this, managed to tidy up the vulture harassment on his side of the map, which also would have reduced his worker count. We have a shuttle now, but it's empty. The Reaver's gone. So where are we at? We've got obs on the field, got a few Dragoons here. What sort of gate count are we on? So we're on 2 gates, obs, and we are now looking to expand on the back of our Reaver harassment. So that Reaver harassment I think was good. This is going to be so tilting. You move your probe into position, and now you've got to move another one because you were not awake for 2 seconds. That's all it takes. Move another probe and don't let it happen again. Okay. So there's goons on the field. We've got 2 gate. Oh my god, we're going into carriers because why not? 2 gate carrier. 2 base. 2 gates. Now going into 3. So we're transitioning into a 3 base carrier build. This is incredibly exciting for me because I never ever see games with carriers in. And so to see the micro that's required, to understand the build orders, to see the players continuously macro up and expand with the unit compositions that they use is always quite enjoyable, especially at a very high level. So Pandor has some Goliaths on the field, and I think he scanned the carriers because he's getting the Charon boost upgrade, which is the range attack for the anti-air of the Goliath, and is now going up to 6 factory production on 2 bases. So I think he's identified the threat. It'll be interesting to see when and if Pandor tries to take his 3rd base. Behind this, I think just walling in and setting up his 3rd, continuing to hit his workers, going up to 4, 5, 6 gate production. I think the math works out that you need on 3 bases 6 gateways and 2 stargates to maintain this hybrid sort of carrier ground army composition, but I honestly cannot confirm that. I'm not an expert on this particular build or any particular build. I'll never profess to call myself an expert, but just somebody who's, shall we say, an enthusiast. So I am definitely an enthusiast, but by no means an expert on what the exact math is here. The problem is, if you have too many, you're not going to be able to sustain both. You can see this Stargate isn't working, so even now he probably doesn't have the macro in terms of worker count and income to sustain what he's got in terms of production buildings. Alright, so I'm blabbling, I'm sorry. I just got excited because Pandor's moving out. I think as a Terran, your strategy is, if you identify that it's carriers, there is a attack timing window before the carriers have got enough interceptors and there are enough of them. So Pandor, identifying that the carriers were incoming, has done his move out, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it didn't go very well. He just got absolutely wrecked. I think taking this fight out here in the open where he could get a nice surround as from a Protoss perspective wasn't ideal. And now I think with a few Vultures he's going to lay a couple of mines for vision, and then he's just going to get out of dodge. Alright, so behind that attack he is throwing down his third. I wonder if Protoss could just walk down here and kill him. I mean, he's got 2 tanks and a Goliath. There's some more Goliaths coming out. We've got a whole heap of Zealots and Dragoons. 6 gate production, as I've said. Not one of these gateways is working though. And we've got a couple of carriers coming out of each Stargate. So, is So going to counterattack? That is the question. I think if he gets this Reaver involved in this fight as well, he could potentially end the game. But I don't know if that's what he's going to be trying to do. Alternatively, if you are feeling that you're far ahead, but not feeling confident enough to go and finish the game, then the next course of action is always just to expand and take another base. This one's quite nice. It's a front door gas base, which is very, very handy. There are, however, 2 entrances to it, but that's not really a big issue, because you can cover this just by moving your units forward, and you can cover this with cannons and pylons and such. Okay, so scouting around, this is another very nice base, although, yeah, you would probably just have some static defense or pylons here, and so this is the base that he's trying to take. So as expected, So is consolidating his lead by taking another base. Pandor with his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fact production is getting some units out onto the field. So the supplies now are actually pretty even. In fact, I would say overall the game is pretty even now. But we got some carriers on the field. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 carriers here harassing this base. I don't see in all this chaos the Goliaths. They are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For the most part, they're killing interceptors because of where the carriers are attacking from. There was a drop that accompanied this because I saw a couple of zealots as well. And carriers are literally right here in the corner of the map. They're not taking any direct shots, which is, for those of you who want to try and understand carrier micro, that is the trick. The interceptors can die all day. You need to just keep replacing them. But if you are in a position where the carriers themselves are getting hit, then you need to try and move them or micro them more efficiently, which is the challenge. If carriers were easy to micro, then I think that would be all that anybody who played Protoss would play with, because they're so powerful. But the challenge with playing a carrier strategy, 1 is you die to the early push of Terran when they scout that you go in carriers, and 2, if that doesn't happen, the second challenge is microing them so that they don't all just get squished by a whole clump of Goliaths. This is a sneak base. I don't think that So has seen this. I think this is a very, very good move from Pandor. It's totally naked. There's literally nothing defending this. There's not a mine. There's not a single unit in sight. So this is a hope that Protoss doesn't find me base, and the longer I have this up and the more I mine, the better for me. Okay, so he's enforcing this and has done a worker transfer. This game, unbelievably enough, is dead even. We have so many Goliaths. We're still on 2 Stargate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gate production. We're now getting a Templar Archives, potentially to move into an Arbiter check tree or to get some Storm onto the field for future battles. We'll have to see. Okay, so originally when I said this base is not being protected, we are now, as Terran, starting to feel a bit of confidence to get some map presence, and so we are moving around the center of the map, sort of this position, to fortify or to be agile enough to take fights as and when they present themselves to us. So if we zoom out to the map now, this is Israeli and where most of his units will be. This will be the path that Protoss will take if they want to attack this base. So the more further up he could move, or the more spread he would have his units, the faster he could respond to any attack. These mines are placed here as a warning system, right? So if Protoss start to come down, then these mines will give him vision saying, you're about to be attacked in this base, so you need to move across. I think he may lay a few more mines just to slow down the progress of the Protoss army as they move across. And that should give him plenty of time to move his units. And so for now, I think it's just a case of getting them into the position he feels they need to be in. But this is a sign of a very strong Terran player, using mine placements as a strategic tool for vision in critical places. Have they taken this base? Are they on this way to attack my base? And now he's got his army beautifully in position for what is going to be a really cool fight. So let's go. We've got carriers, we've got dragoons, we've got tanks sieged. I don't see a storm being thrown down. He's targeted down that High Templar who only got one storm off. That fight went really well for Terran. Protoss pulls away, and rightfully so. He's going to reinforce this position. It's like a big hump hill kind of thing. As I said, I don't ever see this map, so as I'm discovering these interesting terrains, I'm just kind of pointing them out. Okay, so Protoss decides that was shit. Let's go fight somewhere else. Nope. Okay, so changes his mind. And Terran has gone, well, okay, that fight went pretty well. I think I want to take another one. So moving into position, these terrains here are very abusable for carriers, and I think that's why ideally Protoss would love to take this fight here. Let's see. Okay, so he has sieged up here. These Goliaths are... oh, they're not able to get shots on the carriers themselves. See, so these carriers have got virtually no hull damage on them. There's only 6, which is a surprise. It looks like he's stopped now with carriers, and is maybe transitioning more into a ground-based strategy. So he's decided 6 carriers is enough. This fight is going a little bit better for Protoss. I think quite a few zealots have gone on top. That's a very nice storm. I think he got 2 off, so that clump of tanks is gone. This is a good fight. This is really, really good. And these carriers are now starting to do good damage because there's just not a lot of Goliaths here. There's not a lot of mech army left here at all. So these remaining 2 tanks I think will get picked off by the carriers. Chase this tank. Go, 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 go. Okay, so he's going to chase the tank. Okay, so meanwhile back in Protoss land, we're taking another base and potentially another one here. So that's a second main. We are now going on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gate production. So this says to me that So's said, okay, so I've had enough of producing carriers now. My new plan is to produce a ground-based army with storm support. It'll be interesting to see, and I will go back to his main now to check. I just want to keep an eye on this probe harassment from these vultures. Okay, so it looks like he's going to tidy that up without too much of an issue. Pandor's just relentless, man. He's just powering out so many units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, 9 factory production will do that. And that's my concern for Protoss here. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He has 9 gateways and his opponent has 9 factories. You need to have at least +3 to be able to keep up with your Terran opponent. He's not producing carriers, so carriers for the time being are the equalizer. But if they die, then he's got some problems. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carriers still, I think is the number.
And that is really what's keeping him in these fights. That and Storm for the time being. But this mech is 3-3, I think, yeah, sorry, 3-1. So it's powerful, and it'll soon be 3-2. What I wanted to check earlier is an Arbiter Tribunal being added to the tech tree? It's a little bit difficult to see up here. There's a forge, but there's no tech tree, there's no Arbiter. Tech tree at this stage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so he does understand that his gate count is critical, and is working on improving that. So we're going to have a max Protoss versus a max Terran fight coming up very soon. What ground attacks? We've got +2 for our Protoss ground, working on +3. So we're going to have +3 ground versus 3-2 mech with carrier and storm support. And this is there's not much of a flank. There's 3 units here that are nothing more than a distraction. There's a lot of High Templars and not really much else. So these carriers are just putting in some serious work here, man. It must be difficult though for Terran to target down the High Templars among all these interceptors. So that would certainly be a bit of a challenge. But I think Protoss pulls back to the safety of this terrain. But I heard 2 carriers die there. So as good as the micro's been, it's impossible to take fights against a huge wave of carriers and take no casualties. I think it doesn't really matter how good you are. So this game now, because of how this battle went, I think is certainly in Terran's favor, especially considering Pandor is able to re-max his army on 9 factories, which is such powerful macro. In fact, he's floating a little bit of cash, and he has all 9 of his factories queued up. He's got this base, he's about to establish this one, so he's never going to have an income issue unless Protoss starts to target some of those bases specifically. So I have to admit it, Terran is in a very, very strong position here. These factories just ring all day long. On this side, have we got our gateways ringing? Yeah, well, they're queued up and ready to go. So 11 versus 9, gateways versus factories, and we have the carriers. He's adding 1 more, I think, to get up to that number 1, 2, 3, 4. To get back up to that number of 8. I think 8's sort of like a sweet spot in terms of having that power and support. Okay, so we've got a naked nexus that's gone up here that the vultures are harassing. So he's bringing his entire army across to deal with 2 vultures. Neither here nor there though. I think the reason potentially might also be just in case there's some other units that are coming up to pressure, which these tanks were, and I think they thought better of it and decided to roll the hell on out of here. Alright, so some vessels are out on the field. Okay, so he has not seen arbiters, so my theory would be it's to EMP the Dark Templars so that they can't do any storms. Let's see if they have any EMP ready, or if it's been researched, or if he tries to do it. Yeah, there we go. I saw the science vessel do something. It was defensive matrix. Okay, so it was defensive matrix. Didn't see if he threw off any EMPs on that High Templar. That High Templar has a storm actually. This fight is not going well for Terran. Oh, those mines though. Ouch, that was painful. Pulling away. I wonder if Protoss will continue to pursue this. I think this is the one time where Protoss should really keep going. Got in a good head of steam here. Pandor is focusing so hard on his micro that he's not producing anything behind this. This is really an opportunity to take this game. He's now down below 100 supply. So he's not producing anything either. So even at A rank level, when you're macroing your fights, it's difficult to keep up with your macro. So he's on 10 factories. You can see he's now queued them all up again. But so behind this is not making anything out of his ground, out of his gateways. He's only making 2 more carriers and he's making interceptors. I think this is a mistake. He's he's queuing up huge amounts of cash, which could potentially be units. But you know, let's not criticize. Starcraft's a hard game, man, and it's hard for all of us, no matter how skillful you are. Hey, we have an Archon here. He's having a good time, man. Smashing some stuff. I think as an alternative to pushing into the main, where all of Pandors reinforcements will be coming from, this is a really good idea. These sources of income are super critical. This one as well for Pandor. He's got nothing in his main, nothing in his natural, nothing here. So his money is here, here, and here. So to target his money is a really good move. And he's now starting to push again out of his gateways a little bit. Although he doesn't really have that much income himself for some reason. This is getting low, this is good. He needs to transfer workers. I think just considering how busy he's been, he's missed that. And that's impacting his saturation of income quite a lot. So some Goliaths are coming in. The reason they are the unit of choice is that they're decent against ground, but they're really the only answer against these damn carriers, which are now down to 2. So I'll be curious to know now. So he does seem to be rebuilding them. So he's just kept it at 2 Stargate build the whole time. He hasn't ever gone up to 4 or just done a full commitment to carriers. And you can see here, Pandor, because of his 9 fact production and he's managed to spend his money, he's now caught up and is about to overtake in supply. So because of his income issue, which is now fixed thankfully, is struggling a little bit to replenish his army at a faster rate than what he's losing it. And Pandor smelt a little bit of an opportunity to go after Protoss's newest and most critical sources of income, which is certainly these 2 bases. And I don't think that he is going to be able to stop this. I think Terran is going to get this Nexus for sure. And I think all of these bases are in a bit of danger. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 carriers here. There's a lot of Goliaths though, and these carriers can't just fight out in the open because these Goliaths will kill them. So this is a critical point in the game. Be interesting to see what Pandor does with these tanks now. If he tries to push them up over into this main, or if he just chills here to see how this fight against the carriers go. This carrier micro is so good, man. Gee whiz, I would have just lost all of these carriers in this fight in a desperate attempt to try and save this base. But so being an excellent A-rank player realizes this base is doomed anyway. Just be calm, take a breath, micro my carriers nicely, and pick off the Goliaths little bit by little bit to force Terran to retreat, and then I'll be able to come back and take this base again in a few minutes. He needs to take 2. These workers, these probes no longer have any work, so he's short 1 base, which is really critical. And because these bases have now been wrecked, he has got enough time, I think, to re-establish the source of income. Alright, so Terran's re-establishing these 2 bases that he lost in the big fight, because they are absolutely critical for his income. And Protoss is re-establishing the base, just the 1 base that he lost, and needs to establish another one. He's short of 1 mining base. He's got 60 probes and not enough work to keep them busy. Alright, so here's another big fight. Damn, this game has just been non-stop fights for new sources of income. And that is, for those learning this game, the main strategy is Starcraft at the end of the day is about who has more money. And therefore, those who deny income or destroy sources of income, generally speaking, tend to win. So if you want to put Starcraft in the simplest terms, it's a game of economics and denying and destroying the economics of your opponent. And your units that you use are just the vehicle to achieve that objective. Okay, so this fight went well for Terran. Objective was achieved. Destroyed yet another source of income of the Protoss. So Protoss is now down to
one mining base. This base isn't doing anything. This base isn't doing anything. This has got no income. This was running and now it's gone. Terran has got 1, 2 mining bases. So in terms of econ, Terran is ahead. This one Dragoon is going to get mined and he's going to die, and he took an SCV with him. Terran is moving his units into a position to defend his most critical sources of income, and Protoss similarly is doing the same thing. So now we have 2, so 2-2 in terms of mining bases. I think the player who takes a 3rd mining base first will win this game. So that is my prediction. So we have 2. Just double checking that I'm not insane. Okay, so he already has 3. So if Protoss doesn't take a 3rd mining base yesterday, then Terran is going to win. In fact, I'm going to predict now, because he has 3 and so only has 2, that Terran's going to win this game. That's my prediction. I don't watch these before. I literally enjoy them as I cast them. It makes it as authentic as it can possibly be. So I'm going to, based on my understanding of this game, predict now that Pandor wins. Let's see. Am I a dodo or am I not a dodo? So the carriers have come in here. Oh man, there's a lot of Goliaths though. Because So realizes that he either has to take another mining base himself or destroy the mining bases of Terran. So he's attacked 2 of the 3 at the same time. So up here he's taking on this base, and those SCVs have been evacuated. That's been shut down. And this one, however, has been well held by his entire army. And so what happens is you see, okay, well, you kill my base, I kill your base. It's a little bit of tit for tat. So up he moves his entire army. The army that was harassing this base is now moving across, and we're going to see a big fight because he was headed here to destroy this base again. So understanding how critical it is that he defends that, moves his entire army across. This is a beautiful flank. This fight is going really, really, really well for Protoss, but there are more reinforcements coming from Terran, and I think this is going to be held quite easily. Now my question is Terran going to keep pushing forward to kill this base? Because he didn't lose this, he's establishing this, and I think deciding that this is just too far away to try and keep moving my army. So instead of re-establishing it there, let me re-establish it here and put pressure on to the mining bases of my opponent, of which there's still only 2, although the 3rd one is up, but nobody's mining there. Okay, so key moment in the game. How much damage these Goliaths get done, and how many reinforcements Pandor sends to this attack. So he's picking off probes. The Nexus is not being targeted. I think the probes are a fine target. There's only 2 carriers left. What's being produced by So? He's building Zealots, Dragoons, Dark Templars, probes. So no more carriers seem to be incoming. Move your Science Vessel. Oh, you didn't need to scan. That's fine. And now what? Okay, so these Goliaths are going to get tidied up. He's going to hold. He's going to hold. So he's held. This base is about to run dry, but he's held this so he can start mining again here. Rally is here, so this is probably a really nice base to try and hold. This Pandor's given up on, which I understand why, because of where it is. And he has decided that these 2 bases and this one are going to be the 3 sources of income that he tries to hold, and he's going to try and establish a 4th one over here. So he needs to now then have what I would call quadrant defense, so having this section of the map where he's going to focus his attention. In the meantime though, and having scouted that this is once again a new source of Protoss income, Pandor is pouncing on this, but I think because these tanks all clumped up and got stormed into oblivion, that this attack is going to go, and has gone, absolutely horrendously. Alright guys, who's gonna win? Who is gonna win? This game is absolutely titanic. I had my view a little while ago that Terran is going to take this. Now though, I honestly can't tell you. There are 2 new sources of income that have come up. The sources of income, though, of Protoss have stabilized nicely. So a little bit here, brand new here, brand new here. This is going. So I still think that Terran has the economic edge. So has got the units, though, at the moment. So does Pandor take a breath, consolidate these new mining positions, power up, get some more units on the field, and go after another mining base again? I think that's the plan, although he is feeling like he's ready. The challenge for Protoss, although they do have the advantage of mobility, is to continuously move their units from right to left, left to right, right to left, left to right. And that's kind of the frustrating thing about having your sources of income on opposite sides of the map, is you're constantly going to have your army drag from side to side. That's worse though for Terran, because Terran's units are less mobile, but it's still just a pain, no matter which way you slice it. Okay, well, this is just killing things for fun. I think this was more of a scouting expedition, just to make sure that Pandor didn't retake this. He's moving all his units back into his natural, which is really, really far from his critical sources of income. So I'm a little bit worried. There are some units here. And if he were to scan... Why am I hearing... Oh, it's just some straggling zealots getting picked off by vultures. If he were to scan, he would see, and he is scanning in a lot of spots, he would see that Protoss has positioned his army more towards where his mining bases are. And so I think in response, Pandor is positioning as well. And I think we're building up to a fight that's going to happen over here, because So has just established a winning the game base. In other words, if that base goes up and is established and he can hold it, then he will have enough power to win the game. As it stands, we're 164 to 161. If we can consolidate all our forces here, carriers are no longer a thing. So this Goliath heavy composition may well just be a hangover from the fact that carriers were so prominent for so long. I don't know if it's going to help him here. If he would have preferred to have more tanks and potentially more vultures to lay some more mines. I don't know, but this is a lot of high Templars. If they don't get storms off soon, this is not going to go well. He's got, I think, 2 or 3 storms that have gone off. Another one on the vultures, but I think Terran have got too much here. We've pretty much got 9 or 10 dragoons, 1 high Templar and a zealot. I don't see too many reinforcements except for 4 carriers. Okay, so because there are still enough carriers on the field, we keep the Goliath heavy composition. That is a good storm. That took about 4 Goliaths out on its own. Pandor continues to press forward here. I think he has to. He doesn't have a choice. He's got to kill this base. This is a clutch moment in this game. And these carriers are not taking direct hits yet, but I think he's realizing that they are now, and so he's moving this one that's getting very low. But this is critical here, and I think he's going to break this. There is nothing else happening in this game right now. This is honestly the most critical point. He's laid the mines here so that the ground units can't just come hurtling in. A challenge for So is that this base is on the farthest corner of the left side of the map, and all of his gateways are on the right. So to reinforce is going to take time. He had a lot of Templars with no energy, so he's made Archons, which won't trip the mines, I don't think, but that's just a useful aside. Okay, so as expected, critical base identified, denied. So we have this mining base, and we have this mining base against this mining base, this mining base. So still 2 versus 2, and if Terran's equal on economic footing, they are going to win the game. Oh, that's a good storm on these tanks, though. The sound of dying carriers, the one that Protoss fans will not be wanting to hear if So still wants to have a hope in winning this game. I think this is it. The Goliaths are going to move in here. Oh, that's another decent storm. The Goliaths and the tanks are going to move in here, and they're going to wreck this. And this is the oxygen of the Protoss right here. The space is unharassed, but it's only 1. 1's not going to be enough. This goes down, Protoss goes down. So what can Protoss defend with? He's still got 138 supply. Quite a bit of it is chunked up in these carriers. High Templars are out on the field, and he's reinforcing with even more units. I think this is it. So, as I told you all along, I never had any doubts that Terran was going to win. Yeah, that's just not true. This was one hell of a game. I'm absolutely out of breath. I'm exhausted. This was an epic, epic match. If So carries on after this, I'll be a little bit surprised. He's got virtually no income, whereas Pandor has still got 2 mining bases. He can keep relentlessly producing out of his, I think it's 10 or 11 factories. So he's left this because there's no reason to destroy any of this. The only remaining income is here. So from Pandor's point of view, it's to keep scanning in case this base has been taken, because it's the only one on the entire map, aside from this one, which he's now about to go and take himself, that hasn't been taken. So as expected, the final fight in this match culminates at the last available base. And this game has been the best illustration of how Starcraft is about income and basically nothing else. And very, very, very good skill shown by both players to be able to scout and identify number of mining bases, which ones to deny, and how best to choose unit compositions that will result in good fights. Not always the best trades from either player. In fact, when the replay that I saw that was posted in the Discord was in fact named the Game of Throws, which I thought was very funny. And there have been a lot of fights where potentially some units were wastefully thrown in. But the reasons for the fights, understanding why you need to take an engagement and what you need to achieve, I think have been really, really excellent. So this is going to be now the focus area, this base, because it is literally the last source of income available to Protoss on the map. So I expect Pandor will consolidate his forces, try and flank in and take this out, and I expect So will position his army here as a last stand. I like the zoom out profile to see how the positioning will happen now. Just have a moment of one as our Protoss player is about to go through. It's dying. So for all those Protoss players out there, please light a candle for So and wish him well in the afterlife, for he is not long for this world, on this map, in this game, today. So the carriers that have been present the entire game still remain to the very, very end, but 14 Dragoons, 4 Zealots, an Archon and 2 High Templars and 5 carriers are never going to be enough to stop a fully upgraded mech army from wrecking his life. Good storm though, and good to see a courageous fight right to the very end. Can these carriers get anything done? There's still easily 10, 11, 12 Goliaths out on the field. And, you know, to Protoss' credit, he took this fight in the right place. This is a high ground position. It is difficult to get up here. So now Pandor's going around again. And I think he's seen that So's basically vacated the premises here. Problem is, if you vacate this position, you're not going to be able to take it back. Oh dear. Oh dear. I don't think he meant to do that. Or if he did, I don't think he thought that Terran was going to go in there. But anyway, he's reinforcing with Goliaths because those were the units that he lost in the initial engagement. He's going to take down this Nexus. And I think So is going to see the writing is on the wall. It's just going to be a case of whether he wants to fight to the very, very end, or if he wants to bow out now before too many more casualties need to be observed. Okay, so for good measure, he's taking out the only other source of active income, 1 Goliath. Like, I got this, boys! I will take this entire Nexus out myself. Don't need you people. Don't bother me. I'm good. Then Protoss' army is like, you know what, we don't really need to fight. This is gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Nah, jokes aside, he knows that this is a fight that he cannot win. So doesn't even bother trying to take it. Waiting for the units to move into a position where he can engage with them. And then potentially... Oh, High Templar deaths! Boof! Dead! Boof! Dead! Boof! Dead! Boof! Boof is now the sound I'm making when people get shot by a siege tank. Who knew? These damn carriers have been a fixture of this match the entire time. And well played, both players. That was an epic cast. I am exhausted from doing it. If you enjoyed it and if you stayed to the end, thank you. I'm Rabbit Roo. I'm here twice a week with Broodwar content. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon. Yes.